am on it. Coffee in hand, got a plan, I can feel it. Life is good when I lean and start up right. Doing the work out of sight. Let's go, it's Mojo.
Let's go, Rick Hale. It's Mojo Monday, my friend. How are you?
Best day of the week. How could I not be incredible?
It is. I'm actually really excited about our topic today. We've been, I think the world, let me say it this way, the world has been watching a lot of these Taylor Sheridan shows like Yellowstone and Dutton Ranch and Tulsa King and 1883 and all these shows, and they're really good. But we started asking ourselves this question, like, why are they really good? And so we're titling this talk, or our Mojo, Stop Selling, Build a Yellowstone. And this is part one. We're going to make it a two-part series. So stop selling, build a Yellowstone. And Rick Hale, we always start with trivia.
We sure do. And today's trivia might surprise you. Go figure. That's what makes it trivia and fun. But what are the most watched championship sporting events in the world? Not in the U.S., in the world. And then what I'm...
Like viewership, right?
That's exactly right. How many eyeballs witness that championship game? You might be surprised. So I'm gonna list the top 5. And my guess is the top 2 may surprise you.
Absolutely. I'm curious. I have my guess. We'll wait. All right, moving on. So build a Yellowstone. You know, I think it would be amiss to act like this guy just showed up one day and cranked out all these incredible TV shows. And not that everybody watches TV, but I'm going to guess a large portion of our audience has seen one, if not multiple, of Taylor's TV shows. Yet, I don't think he just woke up one day and started creating hits, Rick. Like, I think we need to mention that in the beginning, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And at the end of the day, he is a franchise in himself.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure when he shows up at the production room and says, he's seeking investors and, producer credits, for people to invest, it's not hard. People probably line up because he's got a formula that works. But the point I believe you're making is that not everybody has their formula day one. They have to refine and define. And maybe it makes sense to share a few of the hit titles of series that he's won with.
Go for it.
1883, 1923, Yellowstone, which is really where I think he landed. I mean, the fact that, Facebook was trying to sell me Yellowstone merchandise for years tells you how powerful the imagery ultimately evolved into. Landman, which was a huge hit with Billy Bob Thornton. Tulsa King.
They're coming out with a new series of Landman, by the way.
Yeah, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, Lioness, and then there's Lawman, Bass Reeves, and The Last Cowboy, which I would guess some of us never heard of. So there's no question that he's missed. And no one wins them all. It's really the body of work that defines whether you win or lose, and his body of work speaks for itself.
Yeah, and I think... it's fun to watch shows. It's fun to watch movies. We kind of get caught up in the stories and the characters, and there's a magic formula to that, right? But this is a business podcast, so we're always trying to figure out what is the lessons from success stories or the lessons from failures that translate into our world, right? And I certainly, for an entertainment value, these are great shows. And just like I remember, there's a couple things in life that I tend to lean into, Rick, and I think we're aligned in this. Like, I think there's a lot of business lessons in sports, and there are a lot of business lessons in just pop culture, right? Like whether it's the movies or television or marketing commercials and things like that. So really, I want to kind of dive into this and how do we make sense of this guy, this pop culture success story? What are the lessons that maybe we can apply in our lives in business, right?
Yeah.
And there's really a handful of lessons, and we're gonna break them into two different series here on Mojo Monday. So we've got three lessons that we're gonna go through today. And the first lesson, Rick, is he sells a feeling, not a plot. And I think that's crucial in storytelling, right? Like most of his shows, Rick, are kind of about family or around legacy, or there's a power struggle or some sense of survival. Like we were talking in our pregame, his story of 1883 is narrated by this girl, but the opening scene, she dies. Like,
Don't give it away if people haven't
well, no, I
watched.
mean, I understand, but I think you watch the first episode. It's not a cliffhanger. Everybody kind of sees it,
Yeah,
but
you're good.
there's purpose, there's loyalty, a sense of belonging, right? Like these are powerful emotional feelings that I think the human being wants to feel connected to, right? Like everybody wants to feel connected to their family. They want to feel a sense of belonging. I think loyalty is a big one. What do you think?
I agree. In 1883, by the way, if you've not watched any of Taylor's work, that might be, well, for me, it's my favorite, but it might be the crowd favorite too. It just captures the cinematic beauty of what it, and the experience of what it would have been like to be an early settler and
Yeah.
the trials and tribulation. And to your point, it speaks to legacy and purpose and risk and, survival definitely makes the list. Loyalty and belonging, and where he wins big when it comes to creating a cast that it's very inclusive. There's like one of every type of person, so that you almost project yourself into the story. And I think that's part of the initial selling feeling. Like it, everyone wants to buy, no one wants to be sold. And so at the end of the day, attachment to that storyline and that experience really is critical to success in real estate and in the movie business.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're in the real estate industry. Most people, I think, that listen to this know that. And, so our analogies are probably going to lend themselves that way, right? So when we're selling houses or helping people buy our products, what are the feelings we should be selling?
So yeah, I mean, to some degree, it's security, a little
Yeah.
bit of pride. What is, how can you, there's a term called future pacing. And all that means is helping someone see past the immediate. And in today's world, there's a lot of noise, and it's
Yeah.
easy to get caught up in the distraction of the here and now, where the human spirit really thrives when are we going to make it to the finish line? And then what will it look like, and how will it feel if, again, like family legacy, experiential legacy, inclusion of friends. What happens if you do this? X plus Y equals Z. And that's a big part of this. Some of it's status, a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
All of these emotions, really, it's a big decision in purchasing real estate.
Yeah.
And it's about the experience, not the transaction, that I think ultimately drives energy and decisiveness and excitement.
Sure. I mean, I think in our world, people start with looking at features of a house, right? But they're really walking through let's say you pick a kitchen. Can I see my family having dinner here in this kitchen? Can I see my kids' friends coming over and hanging out in the backyard? Can I see uh do I feel safe in this neighborhood? Do I
Right.
feel like I would be okay to let my kids go play outside? Like I think these are feelings that maybe we don't emphasize enough, that causes people to actually lean into the process, right? Like obviously you got to play the game with features and benefits when you're selling a product, but I do think that there's the intangibles that really bring the feeling to the experience, not just the feature of what it is, right?
Well, and Taylor has this innate ability to create tension around expectations, desire, and then the human reality of imperfection. And so just remember, the word motion is in the middle of the word emotion.
Yeah.
And I would argue that without emotion or some construct below the neck, not just an intellectual pursuit, without emotion, there's no motion. People don't move based on intellect alone, because if we did, we'd made tremendous decisions based on statistics and data. And honestly, that doesn't usually move people. It's how they'll feel as they move through it or past it, or one day put it on their checklist having accomplished it.
Yeah.
Here's a quick example, Brett, just for fun. I mean, you can sell a fireplace in a house, or you can share or tell a story, which is what Taylor's really good at, is promoting stories. Can you imagine a cool, crisp winter night, crackling fireplace? You see the embers and the sparkle of dancing flames and fire, a bearskin rug, fake one, of course. We don't use real bearskin. A bottle of your favorite Cabernet with that special somebody.
Fake Cabernet. We don't use real Cabernet either.
No, we use real Cabernet.
Okay, all right.
That's not sacred. We don't.
All right.
I'm glad that we're having fun with this, but that's a different story with your perfect somebody. Like, that's what this house embodies and represents. Is that evening on a rug in front of a fireplace on a cold night with your favorite beverage, or you can say, it has a fireplace.
Wood burning fireplace, gas stove, gas log fireplace.
Which sucks more of your hot air out than creates. But
yes, it is what it is. But here's the thing: it's saying like the best agents stop talking about the features of a house and start talking about what it feels like in the house, the lifestyle of the house.
That's right.
And I think, I'm just sitting there thinking, and obviously we go off script quite a bit. But one of your newer hobbies I've learned is you like to write songs. And you're using this tool to help you write songs. And you wrote our Mojo Monday song. And I got to imagine in songwriting, it's about storytelling and it's about feelings. That's what makes a great song, isn't it?
It does, and reinforcing the words that represent feelings and represent an experience that you can connect with. How do you create a magnet so big that it's an undeniable force that everyone wants to be part of, or a movement, which we'll touch on that in one of the other points. But yeah, it's all about feelings. Feelings are everything. And then the key is to support it with data and information that satisfies the intellectual need to be right or confident. But if they're not feeling it, the intellect part's not enough.
There you go. Well, I think everybody's kind of catching on to what we're saying here. It's about storytelling. It's about lifestyle. It's about connecting the dots for the end consumer to the feeling that they would have inside this product instead of just the features of this product. Because I think this is one of the things that AI is not going to be able to do a great job of. I think in our world, we take lots of photos, right?
Yeah.
But photos don't always tell a story. There's always good cinematography, but videos can tell a story. I think language can tell a great story. And then relationships tell a great story, meaning the questions we ask, the perspectives we bring to the equation, right? Like this is unique to the human experience that a real estate professional or any sales profession can bring to the equation, right?
Yeah, I mean, people feel you more than they hear you, which goes back to real live conversations and video versus, one line text or a statement in print. There's risk involved when you leave it to chance and how they hear inflection and tone. How does your voice resonate strongest and best? That's the question. And then how do you create a magnet around that story that people attach to?
Perfect. All right. Well, our second talking point is that Taylor really understands this tribal identity. And, in his series, he's got cowboys and he's got ranchers and he's got oil workers and landmen and he's got Navy SEALs and lawmen. And he kind of goes deep into these identities of the human experience, right? Like where I'm a rancher or I'm an oil man or whatever. And whether or not you are of that profession or not, you kind of get into the identity of that profession, right? And I think that's what creates the connection here. Well, in our world, in real estate specific, what are those identities, right? Like I think those identities could be simply people that live around a lake, or people that live beachfront, or the golf communities, or retirees, or even first time purchasers, or uh, heck, we could stay with the Yellowstone theme and call it horse property owners, right?
Right.
Investors, whatever. Like that niche uh, the tribal identity is part of the secret sauce to helping people fall in love with it, right?
Yeah, I'm reminded of the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. And if you try to win everybody, you'll win no one, because no one wants inclusion in the mass media. And so just the simple answer is the people that win biggest are those that are very specific in their target, and they speak a language that resonates 10 out of 10 times. And so get clear in who you are and who you want to attract, because like kind attract, and stop trying to win them all. And I'll also remind you, not everyone deserves you. Like, you don't have to work with everyone, and you shouldn't. You should hand select the people that are the best match for integrity, purpose, legacy. Who are you? And then only serve people that resonate in a way that feels culturally connected. That's how you build a tribe.
I like it. And people want to have a sense of belonging, right? I think that kind of goes back to the feeling in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how do I feel like you understand me? How do I feel like I belong? How do I feel like I'm a member, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. It's about setting standards and then create messaging that resonate with the right people. And again, specialists out are in generalists, usually 10x. If you go to the doctor, there's the general practitioner who does pretty well. And then if it elevates, your need elevates to someone who specializes in a key procedure or something a little, whether it's risky or whether it's nuanced, they get a multiple of return. And that holds true to every industry. So what is your specialty? What's your target audience? And how do you communicate in a way with the least amount of stress, because it's authentic?
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, I think people default to being a generalist because they don't want to get too specialized where they feel like they alienate people on the outside.
Hmm.
But the truth is that the success habit and the data and the research shows in a sales profession, the more specialized you can be, the faster you find success, to your point, Rick. And um, it kind of is counterintuitive in the brain to think that way, I think. But this is a good lesson that Taylor's bringing to the table. Like, who would get excited to watch a show about oil workers if they have nothing to do with oil, right? But the fact that it goes into the identity of that is what makes it intriguing.
Yeah, it does. And with every comparison, there's also uniqueness that, that it is a made up story and experience, but it's so powerful it still draws you in.
I like
And
it.
so how can you create a story that's so unique that people want to lean in for the next episode?
There you go.
Think about that for a second.
Say it again.
How do you create a story so powerful that people want to lean in or with bated breath waiting for the next expression or the next episode? And by the way, episode in the context of sales might be your next story, your next experience, your next what was the client perspective, not yours as the real estate agent or as the salesperson in the general population of sales.
Huh. So let's just take Mojo for an instance. Like, what is the story we've got to tell on this episode that people are waiting until next week to hear part two?
The other half of the story. I mean, if this is
Yeah.
intriguing on any level, just wait. It only gets bigger and better.
Yeah.
I'm
Sell it. Sell it.
we're, yeah, I'm selling right now. But at the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
day, I think they tune in because we're real people having a real experience.
Yeah.
Just like your clients tune in because you're a real person having a real experience.
There you go.
And people buy reality. They buy authentic. They buy, truthfully, they buy flawed. The
Yeah.
fact that we're off script right now and you called me out on why would they come back, I'm like, well, because it's Brett and Rick. I don't,
Well, maybe they're
but it,
part of our tribe.
but we do premeditate stuff that we feel like unlocks opportunities for you to see things, slightly differently. And we're not talking about meteoric change. I mean, subtle change repeated over and over creates a massive win and a massive advantage in life. And we're
Love it.
here to help you make small steps, in maybe a slightly amended direction, which ultimately creates new habits and new results.
I love this. All right. Well, our third talking point, Rick,
Take it to the bank.
is Taylor makes people the hero. What I
Mm.
love about this is I've been on this kick around this book called Story Brand. Ben, this book, one of the biggest concepts of this book is he talks about if you really want to tell an impactful, great story, don't make yourself the hero.
Mm.
Make the hero the character of the story, and you should be the guide, the Yoda, if you will, that help the hero overcome conflict or help the hero overcome win the race, win the championship to your trivia, right? Like how do we become the coach or the guide and let the character of the story be the hero? And characters have a lot of things that build up in the tension of a story, right? Like they're flawed, they're trying to accomplish something. You're trying to make it a real story. And in real estate, we sell houses, but there's a story behind every transaction, right? And I think it's innately normal for us to try to be the hero of that story. Like we negotiated this, or we found off market this, or we sold the house when 10 other people tried before us. But the power in this is how do we make the customer the hero, right?
Well, if the end game goal, Brett, is that your clients, the most powerful source of future business is through peer advocacy and through your clients. That you want to network into their sphere of influence because there's a tremendous amount of trust that they built inside of any spheres, particularly theirs. And if you want to win, all the people in their sphere, no one's trying to win your job. So by self-promoting, you're literally creating a banner and a billboard that's almost unrelatable to the average consumer. What is relatable is the experience of their friends in their peer pod. And so my best advice is if it's all about the client and all about their experience and making them the superhero, now that's something their peers can attach to because everyone wants to be the superhero in a story. And I'm reminded of my start in 1996. I was 30 years old. I looked probably 18. I, couldn't grow facial hair for goodness sakes. What I figured out, it was much easier for me to compel a 27 or 8-year-old to buy their first home than a 50-year-old to sell with me in a high-end neighborhood and repurchase because of my credibility and also just being authentic to me, which goes back to an earlier point we made about, what magnet are you bringing and what's your superpower? And long story short, I bet my first 10 closings were all inside of, 25 to 35-year-old spheres of influence where I made it trendy and cool to be a first-time homeowner, even to the extent I sold the reality or helped promote the reality that if you're single and looking for that special someone, the credibility of owning a home really is a tie-breaking difference maker. And so now they're attaching to their experience and the benefits they get. And then once you get a few people buying into that tribal connection and that whole, everyone wants to be part of a movement, and it became a movement and it
Yeah.
became contagious. But if it was all about what I was doing, I'm not contagious. The movement's contagious because they can see themselves as a character in your movie or your series, like Taylor has the innate ability to draw people into.
He's the best at it right
The
now in the
one of the
industry.
best, if not.
Yeah, for
Spielberg,
sure.
there's other examples, but he's figured out the algorithm. He's unlocked the code for what works for him and the dynamics of tension and opportunity and purpose-built legacy and family. That's exactly what you need to think like. That's the algorithm to
Yeah.
unlock for your specialization and how you attract the right people.
Rick, I'm just sitting here thinking like in today's day and age, storytelling is probably 10x more important than it's been in history. And what I mean by that is it's always been important, but with the element of social media and video is kind of the wave of where the consumer watches videos and social media. They watch them on YouTube. Nobody has the excuse at this point in time in business to not be telling stories.
Yeah.
Like you almost have to take this on as a passion project to learn how to be a great storyteller,
Yeah.
because that's how business is being done these days, right?
Yeah. Everyone has the data. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Data is so available. If you want the information, it's at right at your fingertips. The real question is, how does that data motivate you? And the only way motivation shows up is in the story. And then how do you project yourself into that story, which is a very inspired place to be.
Love it. I I'm curious about this story of who watches the most championships in our trivia. But before we get there,
All right.
this is part one, and I just want to kind of recap real quick. So we're taking the lessons of this film producer, Taylor Sheridan, and going, how does this relate to business, right? And I think everybody needs to know that there's a journey to success and there's bumpy roads along the way. He didn't only produce massive blockbuster hits, which blockbuster, I'm wondering is that even a relevant term these days? But I'll leave that there. Uh, he had some flaws, he had some bumps in the road, but he started to figure out the formula that created success. And hopefully, what you're hearing and what we're talking about today is keystones to the formula of success, right? Understanding how to speak into feelings, not just tell a plot, understanding that tribal identity matters, and then understanding how the consumer's got to be the hero. All these are keystone points to telling great stories that will help your business take off.
Exactly. When he missed, it's because he drifted away from his superpower. And his superpower happened to be stories around ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things, fighting for identity, legacy, belonging. And I don't think that's a far reach to suggest that's what we should all be doing. How do we attract the people that we love the most? Because there are people just like them that will resonate and create a quality of life that's unrivaled.
Boom.
And it's all buried inside of the stories you tell. People
So
buy
stay
stories,
tuned,
not data.
because we told such a great story today that you're going to tune in next week for part two.
Yeah, this is only half the story.
This is only half the story.
It's not even the better half, Brett. This is just the starter half.
It's almost like we gotta, before the episode ends, we gotta like kill off a main character or have some big thing so everybody tunes in next week to see what happens.
Maybe I'll fall out of my chair. We'll come up with something.
Do something. All right.
We need tragedy as part of this somewhere, but you know what? That's not that wouldn't be Mojo Monday. We're here to bring positive power.
There you go. All right. I'm dying to know.
So the top most viewed championship sporting events worldwide, coming in number one is the FIFA World Cup final. FIFA, that's soccer for those non-soccer people. 1.5 to 2 billion is the reach. Approaching 2 billion. So I would
the final, not
final
just the
match,
games, but the final match.
Final. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of matches along the way that have lots of viewership, and I'm sure there's loyal fans of each country that probably, it's a big number. I would speculate there could be 100 million watching some of the key quarterfinal matches or semifinals, but 2 billion. Number two on the list. This is the one I think that might surprise you. The Cricket World Cup final. Cricket.
I've admittedly, I've never watched a cricket game.
I've only watched it for like once. And we were traveling to South Africa, and it was on every channel, as was, by the way, a week later, they had like the Rugby World Championships, which actually is a very well followed and spectated sport too. But anyway, cricket. Here's the most fascinating fact about cricket, Brett. Matches last between 4 or 5 hours to literal days. It can go 5 days. They go home and come back again, and it's the same match. Fascinating reality. So I bet you're asking yourself, where does the Super Bowl fall? Well, the Rugby World Cup, by the way, is 50 to 100 million. The Super Bowl is 120 to 130. So it's slightly ahead of rugby on the world stage. And then you drop down into NBA Finals, 10 to 20 million, which we just enjoyed. And then the World Series is 10 to 15 million. But the Super Bowl at 120 to 130 million, 12 times the viewership for the World Cup final. 12x.
12x of the Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl, I mean, everyone I know, goes to a Super Bowl party somewhere. How many are actually watching other than the halftime show? Who knows? But here we are, man. World Cup. That's the reigning champion.
One of my members of my team said, Brett, you got to understand, outside of America, this is the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And inside America, it's a big thing, but you don't understand the brevity of how big it is out everywhere else. And I was like, maybe I do, but now I really do, thanks to our trivia.
So much like the Olympics, it's a chance for unification and for connection because we all share a love of something. And so, lean in and experience the gift that it is. It's a world. There are very few world events.
Stay tuned next week for part 2 of
Mojo Monday.
There you go.
Life is best
We love you guys. Keep swinging.
Big grin, check in, how you doing? Little spark in your step, now it's moving. Every call, every smile, every you got this. We're impacting the world, can't miss. Let's go, it's Mojo. Life is best on Mojo Monday. Let's go, yeah I know. Set the tone and ride it all day. Mojo, Mojo
Never let it go
Monday.
to like
Fun
the
and
really
fired up.
good
I'm
part.
on my way, let's go, it's Mojo. Life is best on Mojo Monday.